Hey folks, Matt Sharp here with another Pacific Angler Friday Fishing Report. We're filming for the end of May. It is almost June, and I thought it was time I tuned in with you for a fishing report. I know it's been a while. It's been a wet spring.
There's bobbers out there somewhere.
But there is hope on the horizon. If we look out about 2 weeks, there's a beautiful warm spell coming. If you like that awesome patio weather, that awesome sit by the lake or heck fish the lake or get out on the boat, there is hope in sight. However, for those that know how to play the weather, this drizzly, relatively cool spring has actually made some really interesting fishing scenarios when it comes to the fisheries and how they relate to that cool weather. We're going to talk about that because it's definitely worth getting out. This week, we're going to look at coho fishing because it opens on the 1st in a lot of our local saltwater area, and we're expecting a really, really good coho season. Jay actually tunes in with a video that just got released on his favorite gear for trolling for coho, as well as some techniques and some tips when it comes to leader length and speeds. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. We're also going to talk about how many Chinook are out there, because there are a lot of Chinook and it comes with a little bit of responsibility, but it's nice to see that there's so many fish out there. Now, on the freshwater side of things, the cool weather has still allowed you river anglers to get your feet out there, and I do recommend it if you're watching your water levels, but most folks are thinking lake fishing right now. And we've had a, I will say, good lake season. It's been unpredictable because of the different fronts that are constantly pushing through the cooler weather. We did see some really good chironomid hatches over the last month, and a number of the lakes are still going in that regard, which is a little later than we expected with such an early ice off. We'll talk about where the lakes are still doing really well with chironomids and where you might start thinking about diversifying. We also had a video come out a week ago about how to set up a boat right when you may not own the boat, you may be just showing up to the boat, or heck, you have the boat and you just want a quick, easy sort of DIY sounder rod holder setup. We're going to talk about that because I think it's really critical for those folks that may be getting into the lake game, or they love going to some of these amazing lodges that we have in British Columbia, but the boats just aren't quite set up right. We're also going to go over some of the stuff that's coming up. Why? We talked about coho already, but we're coming up on bass season. Bass season hasn't been all that good because of these fronts pushing through, but with this rising temperature that we're going to see, maybe not this next weekend, but the following one, we expect things to pick up on that front. We're also going to think about cap coho. We've heard good reports already. The water is low. They're not opening the dam for whatever reason. However, there are fish in there, and the guys and girls that know what they're up to are getting them, so that's worth a look. And we got to talk about some cool product. We just got the new Kingpin reels in, and finally they have listened. They've given us a bushing reel. We're really excited about it at the shop. I wanted to show that off here. They are gorgeous. They've got really, really nice internals, really high quality internals. They're not cheap, but they're not crazy expensive either when you think about what you're getting. So we'll give them a spin right here. And if you're interested, come down to the shop and talk to us. All right. As always, you want to see more reports like this, consider hitting the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let's get into it. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in with me this Friday. Cheers to Friday. I finished my drink. A little bit of vodka soda going on, taking it easy on a Wednesday night. You guys will be seeing this Friday, but I wanted to go over what's going on because this cool weather has been interesting. I mean, I'm not going to enjoy rainy, wet, damp weather anytime. However, I am sometimes going to enjoy the fishing. Had some good lake fishing over the last 3 weeks. We've been out a bunch. We've got friends out right now. So up sort of at the higher elevation lakes. We're going to go over all that in detail, don't worry. But I wanted to start off with the coho fishing because it's open on the 1st. We'll put the map up here, but there's a few areas that have been closed up until now, and they're really the areas where you can target coho, specifically off South Bowen. And we've had, I'll say, great reports, but maybe not for coho because there's a lot of Chinook out there right now. And so Jason wanted to tune in going over some of his favorite lures, hoochies, spoons, as well as the flashers he likes, but more importantly, some tactics that you guys can tweak your gear with to avoid the Chinook to an extent, as well as maybe put more coho on the board. We're actually going to have a bucktailing piece coming out because we're looking at the numbers, we're looking at the reports we're getting right now, and we think it's going to be an excellent coho season. So get out there, catch and release the Chinook. You're not targeting them, but we're going to teach you how to target the coho a little bit more specifically with your leader lengths and your speeds. So check that video out. I'll link it up here, but also put it at the end of the report so you won't miss it. Now, the other video that we came out with a week ago, I now believe, was my sounder / setting up a boat. This has been a big problem for me, and I know a lot of my friends and customers relate to this, where I might be going out on a buddy's boat, a client's boat, a friend's boat. I might be going to a lodge, and I want the boat set up the way my boat's set up, with the proper rod holders and the right angles, a sounder, which I find mission critical for when it comes to fishing. So in this video, we went over how to set this up quick. We found some cool DIY hacks when it comes to Scotty parts that are going to get you in the game quick. They're just simple clamp-ons. I've actually got, I've got my sounder unit right here strapped to the desk. Get that guy out. This is the new Eagle 7. I've run it for the last 2 weeks. I've been really impressed. It's a solid unit. I'm seeing lots of fish with it. It's really intuitive as well, how it operates. But where's the sounder rig for you guys? I'll just show you. Oh, here it is. And so this guy here is what the video is all about, and all you literally need to do is clamp this onto the side of any boat, plug in your MFD we just saw there, and you're in the game. Check that video out if you want to see it. It also goes into detail on rod holders, which is another one that, even if you have your own boat, having clamp-on rod holders to maybe position them differently depending on where you're anchored, sitting in a box underneath your seat, super useful. We go over some cool tricks and tips there. So I'll stick that video up, end of the report as well, in case you missed it. So let's talk fishing. You guys are here for fishing. We've already talked about too much product. The Coho fishing we're excited about. Cap Coho we're excited about. It seems like they're pushing in, even though the water is relatively low. They're probably keeping the dams low to hold back because we've had such low snowpacks, but the fish are in. Low water is actually really good for the fly anglers, but the gear guys are getting them too, so it's worth a kick. Bass fishing, we talked about that, and we got to pull up the weather for that, and it's interesting. And this is the 14-day, this is Kamloops, but let's take a look at Vancouver. Let's let it reload here. But it's a big warming trend coming now. Unfortunately for those guys and girls heading out this weekend, it's not going to hit this weekend. We're in for the same sort of like mix of sun, cloud, kind of trying to be summer, not really. But you see that here. But when we push into the 14-day trend, we can see a pretty cool warming cycle coming that's going to probably hit on sort of the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and then hold after that, at least if the weatherman gets his game right. And that could be really cool for a number of our fisheries that we've been sort of held back on when it comes to the weather. It cycles the exact same in Kamloops as well. They're almost a mirror image. I'll put these both up here so you guys can geek out a little bit. But if you've been on the fence, maybe you haven't been able to get out and you've got to put in some brownie points to get a day on the water, that first weekend in June looks pretty perfect to me to get out on the water. And so where's that come? Well, if you're local, hit up the bass stuff. That warming trend should turn them on pretty good. We've had decent reports, but they've been intermittent just because of all these fronts coming through. The other one is carp. Take a look at that. Sturgeon fishing has actually been pretty solid, even though we are in freshet and the Fraser is dumping pretty dirty water. It's not so much dirty water that it's unfishable, so that's worth a look if you're going to be safe. And last but not least, I did want to talk a little bit more detail about the lake fishing stuff, because you guys and girls are heading in that direction. I'm going to be going out at least 2 more times, hopefully before it gets too warm in this season. And I wanted everybody to be on alert that you're going to have a mixed fly box when you're heading up that way. Why? Even last weekend when I was out, I was seeing pretty noticeable mayfly hatches across the mid-elevation lakes, and that's going to mean that the fish are sort of going to shift sometimes away from chironomids, and you're definitely going to want to have damsels in your box always, but your mayflies, maybe even some caddis, and don't be scared to throw out the leeches, your standard sort of blobs, that kind of stuff, if the chironomids just aren't going. And then on the chironomid front, I want you to look a little bit deeper. When I was out, we watched it trend from sort of like 8 feet to 9 feet to pushing 11, 12. And if you were in the right depth zone, it was perfect. That's probably on many lakes pushing even deeper than that, into that sort of 14, 17 range. And some of the deeper lakes, yeah, we're pushing the 40s right now, but they're on a slightly different cycle, and it's harder to gauge that depth when it comes to deep line chronometing. But it started across the board. We have folks out up High Hume right now. They're going to come back soon with reports, and Jay has more details in the written version of the report. As always, links in the description. All right, that's everything I got for you. If you want to see Jay geek out on what he uses when he's out coho fishing, I'm going to stick that video up here. And if you want to geek out with me on the sounder stuff and how to set up a lake boat correctly, I'm going to stick that video down here. And as always, you want to see more fishing reports like this, consider hitting the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'll catch you in the next one.